This week, Nations Business looks at the important role the Fiji National Archives plays in preserving the national historical records in the form of photographs, audiovisual programs, and government documents. The National Archives of Fiji was established to collect and preserve Fiji's documentary heritage and make it available to the public through exhibitions and research services.
The National Archives is the nation's repository of the permanent records of Fiji. What that means is the records which are of permanent value to the nation. They're national documents. So that distinguishes them from most other government records. They are extremely important. These records document the decisions and actions of government, and they uphold the rights and entitlements of the people of Fiji. They spell out government's obligations to its people and to others who are also here in Fiji, those who aren't citizens. And they're basically our documentary heritage, our recorded identity.
The collection contains around 1 million documents dating from the early 1800s to the present. These records make up a large portion of the nation's collective memory and provides a bridge for citizens to reach back in time to find vital information on present-day issues, such as pension entitlements, family genealogies, and property cases.
There's the historical aspect of the archives, but there's also the evidential aspect of the archives. And that speaks in support of governance, the making of well-informed decisions by government. For example, on no less than 40 occasions last year, we released archival documents to the Cabinet Office so that Cabinet could make informed decisions. These documents also went into policy formulation. So it's not as if the archives are a dead place or is just about the past. It's also the foundation. It's our national foundation. It helps us build where we want to go, what we've done in the past, what were the precedences.
There are many different types of records at the National Archives of Fiji, and the most requested are from researchers seeking more information on records from the indentured laborers, land sales and boundaries commissions records, important events on Fiji's history such as deed of cession, independence tribal welfares, family and church records, records of the Colonial Secretary's Office.
Those records enable Fijians of Indian descent to trace their roots to India.
Some of Fiji's significant records are stored in reels, pneumatic tapes, and photographs that are inaccessible to the public due to the changes in technology. However, plans have been put in place to further strengthen the storage of these archival materials through digitization.
The archives is extremely important to Fiji because it holds our history, and currently that history we have no access to. It's sitting there. The film that we're about to digitalize is just sitting in cans. So nobody can view our history or have an understanding of it. There are parts of our history that have probably been lost from memory or from talking that are sitting there that we need to access. For the school children, for history, for the whole country, everybody is interested in our past, and it's important that past we give the access to the people so they can actually view these films and enjoy, part of, Fiji's history.
These accounts capture the development of Fiji through time, a valuable tool for researchers and decision makers who consult the archives to determine precedents, understand their obligations, and formulate policies that are beneficial for citizens. The National Archives consists of the Microfilming Unit, Photo and Audiovisual Archives, Sir Alport Barker Library, the Conservation Unit, and the Archives Repository. Taito Raione is the Senior Conservator at the National Archives. He is one of 2 conservators in the Pacific, whose important role is to identify and restore deteriorated documents.
We need to try and restore or conserve these pages. They are part of that Legislative Council papers. We need to make this into working condition. So in the case if a researcher comes into the archives seeking that information, we need to give him a good copy instead of giving him all these jigsaw pieces. And I believe most of the records that we have, they are probably the only copy that we have with the government.
He adds the process involved in the restoration can often take months, depending on the extent of the damage. Nations Business spoke to Nikhil Chand of the Microfilming unit, who explained the steps involved in capturing, processing, and displaying documents for storage and requests.
What we used to do here is the microfilming of archival records, and at the moment we are working on the microfilming of the newspapers, the Fiji Times, and anything that we find it useful that is important into Fiji's history, that is very useful to our, for our future, for the Fiji's history, So we have to keep a record for all this information. So this is one example here. Okay, if let's say this is one Fiji Times here, what we do with this Fiji Times, we have to put it under this glass here so that we can film it. And when we do the microfilming, there shouldn't be any light contact from outside. If there's any light contact from outside, it will spoil the film. So therefore only these lights are on. So we have to actually on these lights for this filming to do. So this is one example. So we have to put the Fiji Times over here, inside here, and then we have to align it in a right way so that we can, adjust it to the camera. After when we have done with the production of microfilms, what we do here is the processing of microfilms. The processing of microfilms is the washing of the microfilm, because when we are done with the production of it, we have to wash it, so therefore we can see the frames of the microfilms. Here is one example of what it will look like. See, this is one example of the frames you need to see, because when you're going to get it out from the production unit, it will be blank. You won't be able to see the frames. When I mean by frames, it means the pages of the Fiji Times that we have filmed.
Chand says, at times, fragile documents that are restored by the conservation unit are microfilmed, and this is given for public access. The Sir Alport Barker Reference Library is available to all for education and information purposes and meets the needs of over 5,000 users every year.
The library unit is quite an interesting story because it's actually governed under the Legal Deposits Act, Cap 109 of the laws of Fiji. The National Archives administers 2 acts: Public Records Act, Legal Deposits Act. The Legal Deposits Act tells all publishers in Fiji that they must deposit with us 1 copy of whatever, 2 copies of whatever they make. You might ask why. Yeah? Why is there a law saying that? The law is there to make sure that the published record is available for Fiji. The archival records are the official source records of government. Right? So we have the evidential history there. The published record of Fiji is also there. And in the archives, both are kept. See, the published records, in many instances, is the synthesis of what's in the archives. Historians will come in, do their research, carry out whatever interviews they need to do, and then consult the archives. And then from the archival research and their other research, they produce a book. That book will be there in our library, so that the public of Fiji have access to the synthesized version, the synthesized information, as well as the actual source documents.
The Archival Repository section evaluates, selects, and takes into custody for proper preservation of public records. It arranges, describes, and publishes records held in the archives to facilitate easy retrieval and to promote scholarly research among them. With the latest developments taking place, the National Archives also has plans for diversification.
The digitalization project, so we have about 2,500 pieces of film, and it's been sitting in the archives the 30s, 40s, just sitting there, 50s, slowly deteriorating. So we need to make that accessible. But currently there is no equipment in Fiji, and there's very little equipment throughout the world to allow us to access this old film. So through a company called DamSmart from Australia, we will digitalise the collection.
These changes are necessary in order to have the Fiji National Archives be on par with the other archives around the world.
The first stage of the project is film, because that's the part of the collection that has been so badly neglected over past years. Then once we do that, we've got all the old black and white photographs, so we'll scan in the photographs, so we'll be able to have access to those as well. And what it means is that currently 50, 60,000 photographs, you can't find just one. So if you came in and you asked for a photo of, let's just say, your great-grandfather that was going off to war, or we'd have no way of finding that. Once it's catalogued and digitalised, it'll be easy for us to access and find those photos. So it's really, it's digging into our past and bringing it and making it relevant in the future.
With diversification, there are also challenges that need to be addressed.
It's really sad that this history has been allowed to sit there. And the relevance of it was never, it was ignored. And past governments haven't addressed it, or didn't know where to begin with it, or weren't interested in it. I don't think anyone understands the enormity of the history that we've got there, and how important it is for that history, for us to be able to view that history. And I know the Prime Minister, when we took the Prime Minister for a tour of the building and we showed him the state of the tapes, and you can't help but realise how important it is for this country to have access to that material and to get it out. And as I've said, we forget our history so quickly, and sitting in a can and rotting away it's of no help to anybody. And past governments that have left it there, it's sad, because we have lost a lot of that collection. It has sat there and it's rotted away and it's been neglected. So in hindsight, it should have been done, looked after from the very beginning, from the first day. It should have been looked after. But look, the positive thing is that the citizens of Fiji, every Fijian, will have an opportunity to be able to view some of the footage, and there's a lot of footage to go through. So we've got hundreds of hours of footage. So on the bright side, yes, we've addressed the problem. We understand how important it is. We've done something about it, and we just have to be patient for another few months until until it's all online and we can use it.
So the next time you are in town, visit the National Archives of Fiji to learn more of Fiji's history. You can visit us at 25 Carnarvon Street in Suva, or log on to www.archives.gov.fiji. Call on 330-4144 or send your inquiries to the National Archives, P.O. Box 2125, Government Buildings, Suva.